This is going to be a big show. We've got tons of notes on this. Let's just jump right into it.
Yep.
The tagline is where it all begins again. It took place on March 14th, 2004 from Madison Square Garden in New York City. You draw 20,000 fans to the Garden here. You've got 825,000 buys. That's a buy rate of 1.53. At the time, this is the third highest number of buys behind only WrestleMania 17 and 18. As a reminder, 17, 18, and 19 were all held in domes and stadiums, but sort of keeping in tune with WrestleMania 1 and 10, WrestleMania 20 is also at Madison Square Garden. And it felt like for a long time, all these big even years, Jim, those were always going to be at MSG because we were conditioned to that for 1, 10, and 20. But 30 was not there. 30 was famously in New Orleans, and they've never went back to the Garden. Do you think in hindsight, given the big business that this one did, this was a mistake to not run a dome or stadium?
Well, considering the number 20 and it all started here, number 1, WrestleMania 1, and as you mentioned, and 10, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it followed a tradition that we just played out. And then at that point in time, WrestleMania just kind of outgrew any venue, even the world's most famous arena. So I don't think it was a mistake. It really felt special, Conrad. And I know that tickets were hard to come by and they were expensive and so forth, but really it was, I think it was the right thing to do. But I think it kind of closed the book. Have we had has there been a WrestleMania in an arena since then?
No, I think they've all been major events since then. You're exactly
Stadiums.
Right. Yeah. So
if that's the case and we're accurate with our assumption this morning, I think it fit. I think it fit. So I know it felt special. Anytime, I don't know why it is. That building is really unique. There's been so many major events there, boxing, and of course, the Knicks from their glory years, and the Rangers and all this stuff. I just, for whatever reason, that building is magical, and it is the world's most famous arena for a lot of different reasons. But for somebody to win a title or to have a great match or earn a big payday in the Garden is a real bucket list for a lot of people, including myself.
I think 21 and 22 were both technically in arenas now that I'm thinking about it, but still it does start a trend of domes and stadiums moving forward. But by the way, that's usually just so you can sell more tickets. And why do you want to sell more tickets? To have a bigger gate. Well, this has 2.4 million in ticket sales, making it the highest grossing event ever for WWE at Madison Square Garden. There's more than 20,000 folks there, representing 16 countries, 48 states. It's also televised in more than 90 countries. The event itself generated an estimated $13.5 million in economic activity for New York City. Were you surprised, given the financial success of this, that this was our last WrestleMania in a Madison Square Garden?
A little bit surprised, but I can see the trend going toward large venues.
Yeah.
And as you said, you've always got to, as a marketer or promoter, the supply's got to fit the demand. And, we weren't able to do that. Obviously, I don't know how long this event took to sell out, but it was minutes.
Yeah.
And when you, like you mentioned, minutes for people in 48 states, minutes for people that attended from 16 countries. So it was a hard ticket to get, heartbreaking for some fans that really wanted to go see it. But I think that it was a real special event. I just sense that we're going to move to stadiums all the full time in the future. And as you mentioned, I couldn't remember. I worked those two WrestleMania, this 21 and 22, but it just was inevitable. And I don't ever see it going back to away from stadiums and arenas. Next year's in Dallas, right? At the AT&T Stadium.
That's right.
And then I know LA's on tap somewhere in the new stadium and all that stuff. So I think that's the permanent home for WrestleMania. It will be in stadiums, domed stadiums would be my preference, because you don't have to worry about rain. Could completely eliminate that thought from your consideration. I always thought we were lucky when we had that outdoor show in oh heck, I don't remember what maybe it's 28 or something in Jersey.
Yeah,
Because it looked like it was going to rain. It was kind of cool. So I think you can avoid all that by good planning. Just go inside, go indoors and fill it up and have a great atmosphere and a hell of a crowd shot.
You talked about how fast this sold out. How about 60 seconds? Is that fast enough?
Yeah. Yeah. Conrad, this reminds me of your dating life.
I knew that was coming.
The setup.
Of course, WrestleMania here. This is not just Raw or SmackDown. It's both. Over on the Raw side of things, Triple H is going to defend the title against his former best friend, Shawn Michaels, and the winner of the 04 Rumble, Chris Benoit. As for the WWE title, that's the SmackDown belt. Eddie Guerrero is going to be defending against the Wrestling Machine, Kurt Angle. WrestleMania 20, obviously, this is going to be a landmark deal for the WWE, you know, the big anniversary and whatnot. And this is also the media capital of America, New York City. Did you feel like this was more hyped or you had more mainstream coverage because you were in New York as opposed to another market?
Yeah. Garden brings magic with it. It's magical itself. So yeah, it was well received. And the other thing that was very topical. If a media outlet that may not care to cover pro wrestling or sports entertainment, from a business perspective, especially in New York, they're going to cover the fact that this event sold out in a minute. I mean, that's right there with, you know, the most famous entertainers of all time. So I think that the media was kind of in awe that 20,000 seats were sold in a minute. Is that even possible? Yeah, it was possible. And then the buzz started on the secondary market because a lot of people weren't going to take no for an answer. I want to go to that event no matter what it costs. So that's kind of what I think of that deal. It's just like, yeah, the market was amazed by that. And it was the Garden and everything is in the Garden special, especially in New York City. Then the rest of the country starts spinning off with their stories on, you know, Access Hollywood and Entertainment Tonight, et cetera, because it now became a big story. It wasn't so much a big story about the card. It's a big story about WrestleMania being 20 years old and WrestleMania selling out in a minute. It became a business story, not a card story.
Let's talk about the only gates in the company history that would beat this number. Number 5 was 2.7 million, the prior year's WrestleMania at Safeco Field in Seattle. Even though technically Brock and Angle went on last, they sort of promoted Hogan McMahon as the main attraction for that show. The year prior, they had just over 3 million, and that was for The Rock, Triple H, and Lesnar at the Melbourne Colonial Stadium, not a WrestleMania show, an August 10th, 2002 show. On the 1st of April in 1990 in Toronto, Hogan and Warrior drew 3.4 million. Back in 01, of course, WrestleMania 17 with Austin and Rock, you had 3.5 million. And the biggest gate was from March of 02, 3.8 million for WrestleMania 18. Even though it's not the main event, the featured match is Hogan Rock. Boy, we see some trends here. If you've got The Rock in there, if you've got Austin in there, if you've got Hogan in there, you're going to draw box office. And on this card, we don't have Hogan and we don't have Austin, but we do have Rock, but it feels like he's not in the most prominent spot. But still, because it's New York City and because it's 20 and because the product is hot, we're going to still land on number 6 all time for WWE Gates.
Yeah, it was good. Rock is the thing about a lot of guys just have a propensity of selling pay-per-views. They're the kind of attractions and talents that people want to engage. And Rock, Austin, Hogan, I'm not sure there are others I'm missing and I'm not doing it intentionally, but there's a handful of guys that are proven pay-per-view sellers. And I think we had Austin on this card because he refereed the Lesnar Goldberg debacle.
Yeah. And it is a debacle.
Yeah. And, but nonetheless, he was featured. People knew he was going to be there.
Right.
They knew that if Austin's going to be at WrestleMania, he's going to do more than catch beer cans and have a beer. He's going to do something. And he did something. I don't know how great a referee Steve is or ever want to do it again, but he saved that match. And I don't know at the time that the two talents, Goldberg and Lesnar, realized what Austin did for them. They probably disagree with my assessment. But here's all I will say to you on that deal. And we'll talk about that match more, obviously. If Austin had not been the referee in the Goldberg-Lesnar match, what kind of match would it have been?
Oh, yeah.
Based on the reaction of the crowd.
Yeah.